So with this, we will move into some of the keys to planning and tracking. So what are the major keys to planning and tracking? First of all, we need to check the availability of resources real time. That the status of the resources, their job allocation, that should be visible right in front real time on a real time basis so that we can take corrective measures on that. Then we should create a proper schedule of the activities and resources which will help us to track the project in terms of all the three major parameters we looked into, which are time, cost and resource. Then we have assigned specific resources to tasks and deliveries. Now, why is this needed? This is needed because if we have specific resources allocated to specific tasks and deliverables, then what we are ensuring by doing that is we are increasing the accountability of the resource, which will help us in turn to track things smoothly. Then another major aspect which we should look into is online availability of the plan. Now today almost everywhere the teams are globally distributed and across different time zones. Now it is very useful if the plan is available online so that all the stakeholders are updated with the real-time status of the project and corresponding effect on the plan, which is really required. Then another key thing is update the plan real time based on actuals. This is another very important aspect in terms of the variance we talked about a few minutes back. Because until and unless we have the true picture real time against the plan, that okay, this was my plan and this is the actual besides it, we will not be able to take the corrective actions if necessary. Then another key aspect is make changes and re-baseline plan as and when required. Sometimes it happens that we cannot keep things under control and it gets shifted. Like we may face a lack in schedule, we may be lacking on cost, somewhere we may be out of track. And as soon as we do that, it is very necessary that we make the corresponding changes in the plan based on the reflection and re-baseline it, so that at the end of the project we can easily compare with the actuals, the original plan or the baseline versions, which will give us a historical data to preserve or as a lessons learned that these are the areas where we need to improve on the upcoming projects. Then create milestones. This is another thing, because in the case of big projects what we see is that the number of tasks or the number of activities to be tracked is huge. Now when that list becomes big, it is very difficult to maintain them and to track them task by task. So it is much better if we create milestones, which is basically nothing but grouping of certain tasks, and track those milestones against those parameters of time, cost and scope and quality. Then we have maintain a summary of tasks. Now what is this maintain a summary of tasks? It is something like a milestone, but as we know that in milestone we do not associate any resource, but summary of task is you create some task, a task which can be broken down into subtasks, so that it's not necessary you maintain or you track all the subtasks, but at the summary level also you get a proper picture that what is going wrong or where we are in terms of the progress of the project. And then is define dependencies. Now this is very critical, because if we don't have the dependencies properly defined, then in case of crisis we will not be able to do things like crashing the schedule or doing some fast tracking of the schedule. Those type of things will not be possible, because those type of things are necessary because sometimes it happens that we go behind the schedule or we may go over the cost, and that at that point from the company's perspective what we need to do is we may need to reconsider those things. We may need to bring in more resources to bring it up to the schedule and take some corrective measures on that. So to achieve that, we should have a proper definition of these dependencies. With that, I will move on to some aspects of how to stay on track. In order to stay in